Hello?
Hello, Linkara. It is I. I guess you were expecting this call?
Beth Elderkin, is that you? Did you want a cameo?
What? No, it's I, Evan Stanley.
Who?
I'm an artist who's done some Sonic the Hedgehog issues.
Okay, I don't read Sonic.
Oh, well, that's why I called. You should really read Sonic 257. You have cameo in it.
Well, how the heck am I supposed to check that out right now? It's not like I own a copy. Oh look, I conveniently have it in my hand. Huh.
And now, Linkara, I demand that you review a Sonic the Hedgehog issue.
Why should I do that?
Because I drew a cameo of you in a professionally published comic. I think the least you could do is review a Sonic comic.
Okay, fine! It's not like I haven't broken that top 15 list of comics I'll never review 1,000 times already!
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. So, yeah, it's time to finally look at another Sonic comic. It's not an easy thing to do since I'm so unfamiliar with the—
Talk about Ken Penders!
But fortunately, I have a Sonic comic that I can talk about.
Talk about Ken Penders!
It concerns a crossover
Talk
with—
about Richard Attenborough!
I don't want to— Wait, what? Look, fine, okay? Let's talk about Ken Penders. I mean, I suppose it is relevant to talk about him since today's comic was written by him. Every Sonic comic fan who also happens to watch my show, which happens to be a lot surprisingly, has been emailing me about writer and artist Ken Penders. Sega licensed Sonic the Hedgehog to Archie to exclusively produce Sonic comics in the United States to tie into the two TV series going on at the time, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic SatAM. See the Nostalgia Critic's old review for the details. Penders was a longtime writer and artist of the series for several years, creating many characters in it as well as world-building a lot of Knuckles the Echidna's backstory in the series. There is a long story to this. A fan was kind enough to give me a link to a lengthy Tumblr post explaining the history in very detailed amounts, but there's a lot to go through and this is already a 40-page comic. The gist of it is that Archie's original contracts with their creators were lost, and they apparently didn't have certain provisions in them that would mean that characters created for the comic would revert to Sega's ownership, since this kind of work on a licensed book is usually a work-for-hire contract. Much like how people can write stories for Superman, but they don't own Superman just because they wrote the stories or introduced new characters in it. Ken Penders filed a copyright claim on several characters he had created for the book, claiming ownership of them and meaning that Archie had to pay him for their use and couldn't reprint them without his permission. Now, this situation was apparently being so badly handled by Archie's lawyers that they actually fired their entire legal team and got a new one. I can't say for certain if that's the case since I wasn't there, but apparently during one attempt at settlement in 2013, the judge began the meeting by saying, "So this looks like a fine mess." No, a fine mess would have been sifted through already. This is a great big galloping 10-car pile-up of a mess. The bottom line after all of this is that Archie still needs to ask Penders permission to use his characters, which he has spun off into his own book. And in fact, a crossover between Sonic and Mega Man in the comics pulled a reboot and essentially rewrote 20 years worth of storylines in order to excise everything Ken Penders had created in the book. It doesn't matter if you're DC, Marvel, or somebody else. In comics, retcons are the name of the game. My sympathies go out to fans of the comics. I feel your pain when it comes to stuff like this, although I'm not making any value judgments one way or another. I don't know enough about the specifics and the people involved to make any moral judgments about what Ken Penders or Archie did. Although I do strongly recommend to all of you to keep your hands on documentation and files that may be important to you down the line. This is why someday I'm going to appear on one of those shows about hoarders. But with all of that out of the way, let's dig into Sonic Super Special number 7 and see what the hell the deal is here. The cover is okay, I guess. Yeah, this comic features Image Comics characters in a crossover with Sonic Comics characters. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. It's a little weird seeing the Image characters on the right being drawn in a much more cartoony style than I'm used to. And look at their expressions. It's like they're really pissed off and confused about how they have huge chins, but not enough gritted teeth and pouches. And the Sonic characters are Sonic characters. I don't know. I only know Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Oh, and Sally, I guess, who has hair that might actually be larger than her head. I fully expect her and Starfire to have a hair fight like in Uzumaki. We're just starting this comic, and already I have made a reference to a superheroine and a horror manga, neither of which have anything to do with characters in this book. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? We open with this lady being interviewed by the FBI. Particle. My name is Particle. And you have to pronounce it in that weird font or it doesn't work. And you claim this device, the vibrational tuner. This tuner transported you to an alien world? Wait a second. Technological device called a tuner that transports you to an alien world? This is the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe movie! Apparently, Particle used the tuner to transport herself to a place that looked very futuristic, and we go into flashback mode as she explains the whole story. The tuner was designed to prove the theory of alternate realities. Gotta love this tunnel effect. I fully expect her to high-five the cast of Sliders going the other way. Also, circuitry-inspired clothing. It must be the future! And already we're looking at a future much better than either Sci-Spy or Commandiate Earth's End. Then again, the future from 2001 A Space Odyssey was a better future than either of those, and that took place 13 years in the past. And thus Particle ends up in another dimension, specifically Sonic the Hedgehog's Earth. I had been prepared to encounter a world much like ours with some variations, but nothing could have prepared me for what I actually encountered. In this world, Adam Sandler movies have won Best Picture at the Oscars 15 years running! Sonic the Hedgehog, over there!
John Freeman, over here!
Also, Tails, just remember, you need a comma in that sentence, or else you're calling Particle Sonic the Hedgehog. Although, that probably would be the most radical departure from the series' design since that time Sonic turned into a werewolf. Looks like someone's off the beaten path, Tails, and it's an overlander, no less. Overlanders, from what I could find from research, are basically a mutated offset of humanity in the comic. Similar looking to ordinary humans, but more aggressive and xenophobic. What do you think, guys? Should we rush her? Let's loudly discuss our plans when we're only 5 feet away! She's an overlander, mon ami. Not only that, she's a female. 1 part ooh la la and 2 parts treachery.
Hashtag feminist.
Antoine, is that how you think of me? Au contraire, mon chéri. I was merely recalling a bad experience I once had. The friend zone is a hellish place, milady. It's a good thing that I am, how you say, a nice guy. Particle spots the group. Oh my, the animal life on this world has mutated in some bizarre ways. They're French! So apparently Particle's dimensional tuner doubles as a wide-angle phaser since she's able to knock out Sonic and pals to avoid hurting them. And why she fired on them while they were just standing there is anyone's guess. Oh, and it's also a tricorder since she uses it to lock onto a nearby power source that's got her attention. On a floating island in the sky. Do you remember that campy Batman show from the 60s? I felt like I was living in an episode when I discovered the Zoot Shoot? Zoot Shoot Suit? Will our plucky Particle participate in Robotnik's playtime? Find out soon! Same Sonic time, same Sonic channel. She slides down the chute and ends up in a green honeycomb environment. And in the middle of everything is a giant emerald. A day-glow elephant man encased in a humongous emerald. Man, ring pops have gotten weird. She sees that this is the source of the energy, but can't tell if it's the emerald or the elephant doing it. Before she can investigate further, she's confronted by Knuckles the Echidna, guardian of the floating island, defender of the Chaos Emerald, and wielder of the Lego brick shoes, it would seem. Particle offers her hand in friendship, but when Knuckles takes it, Particle reaches out and touches his skin. This causes Knuckles to fall unconscious. Ah yes, the lesser-known technique known as the Vulcan nerve handshake. It seems Particle is here to steal the power source for some reason, and uses the tuner to transport the emerald back to her universe. We cut back to the interview, where the FBI agents say that she didn't realize what she had set in motion. When she asks to use the bathroom, she touches one of the agents and knocks him unconscious. It is there that we learn that the agent's name is Scolder. And he has a red-headed partner. Mully and Scalder. Congratulations, Sonic Super Special! You have the best out-of-nowhere reference to the X-Files since Cinnamon number 11! You must be so proud! Particle knocks out Mully the same way, only this time also doing a Midas touch considering she turns bright gold. She leaves, not wanting the government to learn of her abilities, and somehow is able to knock out the power before making her escape. Unlike Cinnamon number 11, apparently Penders decided to keep them as characters in the story as opposed to a single-page cameo, so they begin trying to track her down. Apparently, they found Particle at the ruins of an Air Force base, but they also found a business card in the wreckage for an electrician. They go to the electrician's store and question both him and his son Eddie, who apparently shops at the same store as Shanna from the Tandy Computer Whiz Kids, judging by that Archie shirt. They also reveal that they have some security video of, well, what appears to be Shadowhawk from Image Comics. I suspect you may be familiar with this one. Did this kid invent Shadowhawk? Why the hell would they say that? Eddie explains his part of the story, that the previous Thursday night he had spotted some bright lights in an alleyway and decided to investigate. When he looked inside, he spotted Sonic's group there, along with Spawn of all people. You ever notice how in science fiction, teleports like this always seem to happen in dark alleyways and not like in the middle of a busy street or a stadium full of people or hell, inside of a solid wall? I'm not telling a joke, I just find that incredibly convenient. This was also apparently on Halloween. Welcome to Plot Convenience Playhouse, kids! For that matter, I fear we're in the real world because he recognizes Sonic and the rest from the games and show. Oh god, this is quickly becoming Sonic Live all over again! I can't go back, guys! Spawn just walks off. Dick. Thinking that they're just kids in costumes, Eddie goes over to see if he can help and offers his kudos on their outfits. I hate to burst your bubble, bub, but we're the real deal. Are all you overlanders this slow on the uptake? Remind me again how the overlanders are supposed to be the xenophobic ones? Once they've convinced Eddie they're the real deal, they explain what's happening. In a flashback. We have now entered flashback in a flashback territory. So Particle, being such a smart character, apparently didn't realize that the Chaos Emerald was keeping the island afloat, and thus it crashed into the water after she took it and nearly drowned Knuckles. And then he, got a 2-page spread that I have to turn on its side? Oh, it's a poster. A really badly drawn poster with very questionable anatomy on Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk, or this lady with green face paint covering her misshapen and ill-placed eye. Well, okay, the Max up at the top looks fine, but that's because the Max is supposed to look that weird. Anyway, Knuckles met up with the others and compared notes about Particle, figuring out that she must have come from another dimension. As such, they used a recently recovered trans-dimensional car. I ran out of alcohol around Marville, and I haven't had a chance to replenish it yet. And go on the Cosmic Interstate, which is a literal highway between universes that lets them travel to and from different dimensions. And thus they followed the trail to Earth, which from this image appears to have a bit of a rust problem in North America. Sally asks Eddie to help them why are you two smiling at each other like that? So it turns out that Eddie is Shadowhawk. Don't ask me, the last time we talked about Shadowhawk on this show, it was a flip book for a Youngblood issue, so as far as I know, he could have been a 16-year-old kid this whole time. And I so do not care. Also, the flashback within a flashback doesn't answer the most pertinent question of this crap. What the hell was Spawn just doing there standing in an alley? I'm serious, we don't see Spawn again for the rest of the comic. What is even the hell? You know, the horrible Spawn crossover with Batman that Frank Miller made is apparently in canon with Spawn comics. You think the same thing is true with him meeting Sonic? Anyway, Shadowhawk and the Sonic Squad drive off in pursuit of the Chaos Emerald, ending up at Grand Central Station. Unfortunately for them, this is the Image universe, so Savage Dragon shows up. Yeah, Savage Dragon is another character we've never talked about before. One of the more successful and long-lasting early Image characters that, as far as I've heard, does not suck like Youngblood or the like, but I've never read it, so I wouldn't know. You know, everyone was really clamoring for me to review this because it featured Image characters as my anchor, but so far the closest we've gotten to any characters I've actually talked about in depth is Spawn. And he's only on one page! Yet another superhero joins the action, Union, who's actually a Wildstorm character, but that's a topic for another day, and just good lord, this artwork! I don't know if at this point it's deliberately cartoony, or if the Sonic art style just really does not work with the over-muscled gargantuan Image characters. Anyway, Shadowhawk gets separated from Sonic, and the three superheroes go in pursuit of them and the Chaos Emerald, which is on a train going out. Speaking of, Sonic and company confront this guy. It took you a bit longer than I expected, but I knew you'd come after this little bauble regardless. You will never take my technologically advanced dance belt. How would someone like you know anything about the Master Chaos Emerald? Someone like him? The hell are you talking about, Sonic? The dude looks like Dr. Chaotica. Of course he knows about the friggin' Emerald. That would be telling. Suffice it to say that I know you all quite well. Really? I don't ever recall ever stumbling over you either, bub. You get to know me very well, Echidna. But that's in the future! Warning you about future events means you'll be better prepared to face me then! I am a very intelligent villain! Before this moron can continue to monologue more than Harvest, the three Image characters break through the roof and accidentally shoot the Chaos Emerald. This somehow opens a portal that the train speeds into, sending everyone into another dimension. Or another planet or something. I don't know. We're like 3/4 of the way through the comic, and it feels like we're only now hitting the first plot point. The pacing on this thing is all over the place, but mostly it's, let's speed through this as fast as we can. Still unnamed villain guy has an army of robots, I think they're the same that Robotnik uses, that he has retrieved the Chaos Emerald while all of our heroes remain unconscious. Phase 1 is now complete. I have gathered together the unwitting components for the most insidious plot ever devised. I will give Perez Hilton his own talk show. I am an evil genius. And with the incalculable energy of this amazing gemstone harnessed under my control, there'll soon be a crisis on infinite realities, resulting in only one. Mine! Oh, dude, it applies to both movies and comics alike. Never mention a much better story in the middle of your crappy one. It just makes us want to check that out instead. Particle was working for this guy, who may actually be Dr. Chaotica since Particle calls him a doctor, because he's holding her sister hostage. However, Dr. What's-His-Beard says he still needs her ability to control and manipulate electrical impulses, which is how she's able to knock people out with just a touch. However, he sends her off because he notices two of his robots pushing around a cardboard box. Maybe Solid Snake is in there, and this comic is actually supposed to be promoting Super Smash Bros. Particle runs off and frees her sister, passing by cells that apparently contain Batman, Popeye, and Spider-Man. And that's how you do a cute reference to other properties, not by just randomly having Mulder and Scully in your story. And apparently the cardboard box contained a very odd-looking Max. And yeah, the dude looked weird already, but even more so here. His giant teeth are no longer teeth, but rather some kind of beard or armoring from the looks of things. What are you waiting for? Get him! Why is Max so unpopular all of a sudden? I wouldn't be so sure of that, Max. I got into an argument a while ago with someone who was pissed off at me for making fun of your appearance in Darker Image number 1. So, why was Max in a cardboard box? Yeah, not gonna get an answer there. Anyway, Particle and her sister, who also has superpowers, frees everyone else, including yet another new Image hero to the bunch, a speedster named Velocity, aka Green Face Paint Lady. But apparently nobody bothered to free Spider-Man, Popeye, and Batman. Poor dopes. Sally comes up with a plan quickly, sending the speedsters off to create a diversion while she plays on her Game Boy. Assesses the situation and deploys the troops to their advantage. Sonic and Velocity meet up with the Max, who is in the process of bowling the Chaos Emerald at the robots. Also, Velocity, what the hell is going on with your head? Is the super speed leaching muscle and fat from everywhere but your head? Dr. Whoever, no, we never learn his name in the comic, and if you can't be bothered to name your main villain in a story like this, I'm not gonna bother looking it up. Has some sort of remote control that allows him to alter reality using the Chaos Emerald to his will, despite the fact that the remote appears to have only one button. Knuckles gets in close to the Emerald as a huge brawl breaks out, and Knuckles uses the power of concentration, or thinking really hard, to try to take control of the thing. No, I do not know what is happening, or why, or what is even the hell. Whether or not you know me doesn't matter. What does is that I have a job to do!
You know, it's economical not to have a storyline, because then you can just film people saying things.
Man, oh man, not sure I can do this! Look inside yourself, Knuckles. Father? Knuckles, you must go to the Dagobah system. This is what you were born for. You were born to stop some unnamed loser from taking control of a big emerald that happens to reshape reality and sometimes possesses an elephant inside of it, even though we haven't seen the elephant for quite a while. Don't listen to him, Knuckles. Your destiny is to rule a universe. Setting our sights a tad high, aren't we, Great Uncle Dimitri? Wait a second, Dimitri? Get off the phone, Dimitri! I'm trying to call my son here! I gave you abilities far beyond any echidna, my son. Most echidnas can only eat ants and termites. You can eat beetles, too. Only you can make the choice whether to properly use or squander the gift I provided. Beetle burgers for everyone! Even if I don't understand, what choice do I have but to listen to my father? Listen to your father about what? That was the vaguest encouragement he could possibly offer. It could only be more ambiguous if he had just said, do the thing. So much power, so much energy. All I want is my world restored to me! Unfortunately, due to a stray thought, Knuckles accidentally renewed the Real World Mobius Edition for a new series. And somehow that means that Sonic and company are transported back to their universe while all the Image heroes remain in the rubble of the destroyed military base. The heroes all leave, not wanting to explain all this to anyone who comes around to ask. Also, Dr. Evil Von Beardo is either dead or unconscious. They don't check, and I don't care, so it all evens out. And thus Eddie finishes his story, I guess confessing to 2 random FBI agents that he's a superhero, and nobody directly involved in the events had any memory of what happened. Scolder and Mully, okay, screw it, they're Mulder and Scully, walk off trying to make sense of it all.
This is the worst assignment we've ever had.
Worse than the time we were attacked by the flesh-eating virus?
No, this is much more irritating.
Scully thinks the whole thing is a mass hallucination, but Mulder thinks that everything Eddie says corroborates what Particle said. Oh, and in Sonic's universe, apparently none of them remember the events and are just doing their own thing. And so our comic ends with Scully writing up a report saying she's doubtful anything else will turn up about this, but that Mulder thinks the truth is out there. Yeah, here's the truth. This comic sucks! For a supposed crossover, these 2 groups barely spend any time together, the art is subpar in most places, which is especially odd because Mulder and Scully look just fine, but the Image heroes look cartoonish and weird. For that matter, why the hell are they even in this? It's not just there for a cute cameo. The last panel is dedicated to Chris, I made this, Carter, the guy who created the X-Files. The villain isn't named, the story is bizarre, lazy, and completely out of left field, and these characters have nothing interesting to do together. Well, fortunately, this story is over, so I don't have to worry about any more cameos in modern comics making me review an issue of... The hell? Huh.
What you say? Oh, that
Blue streak speeds by. Sonic the Hedgehog, too fast for the naked eye. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. Look out when he storms through. Sonic the Hedgehog, don't doubt what he can do. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic.
Huh. Dude, what's going on? Why? What are you talking about? Cyberman emergency protocol, deactivate! Well? There's nothing wrong with it. What do you mean there's nothing wrong with it? It attacked me in the Ninja Style Dancer! How is he, by the way? Still unconscious, but I don't want to try to wake him up until I know what the Cyberman did to him. But I mean what I said, I can't find anything wrong with it. The last time we couldn't find anything wrong with a machine, Vice nearly took over Comicron 1. You keep the Cybermats offline and you take them apart until you figure out what's wrong with them. I hear and obey.